Welcome to month 6. You've come a long way, and now we're consolidating everything into cloud administration with Microsoft 365, aligned to the MS-102 Administrator certification. This first lesson is the lay of the land, what a tenant actually is, how the admin centers fit together, and where you go to support users. Get this mental map right and everything that follows clicks into place. Let's start with the word you'll hear all day, tenant. When an organization buys Microsoft 365, Microsoft spins up a dedicated, isolated instance of all the cloud services just for them. That's the tenant. Your company's tenant is walled off from every other company's, even though they share the same cloud. Each one has a unique tenant ID and a default domain ending in .on Microsoft.com. The tenant is the boundary you work inside every single day. You manage the tenant through web portals. The hub is the Microsoft 365 Admin Center at admin.microsoft.com. From there you handle users, licenses, and service health, and you jump out to the specialist portals, Exchange for email, Teams for meetings and calling, SharePoint for sites, Entra for identity, Purview for compliance, and Defender for security. When a ticket lands, knowing which portal owns the problem is genuinely half the battle. Underneath all of it sits Microsoft Entra ID, which you may still hear called Azure AD. This is the identity layer. It stores the user accounts, the groups, and the authentication that every other service trusts. When someone signs into Outlook or Teams, it's Entra that checks who they are. Identity is the foundation everything else stands on, so we'll spend the whole next lesson on it. Every tenant gets that .on Microsoft.com domain, and it always works as a fallback. But organizations add a custom domain, like contoso.com, so sign-in names and email addresses look professional. Adding a domain means proving you own it through DNS records, typically a TXT record to verify ownership, then MX and other records so mail actually flows. You'll see this dance whenever a company is onboarded. Here's a concept that explains a huge share of your tickets: licensing. The tenant subscribes to plans, things like Business Premium or E3 and E5. Each plan bundles licenses that unlock specific services. And crucially, you assign those licenses per user. A user with no Exchange license has no mailbox. No Copilot license, no Copilot. So when someone says I can't get into Teams, your very first reflex should be to check their assigned licenses before you touch anything else. Not every admin needs the keys to the kingdom. Admin roles decide who can change what. The global administrator role can do absolutely everything, which is precisely why you hand it out to very few people. For day-to-day support there are narrower roles. Helpdesk administrator just resets passwords, user administrator manages users. The principle here is least privilege, always grant the smallest role that lets the person do their job. It limits the damage if an account is ever compromised. Putting it together, here's how your day flows. A ticket arrives. You find the user, check their licenses and sign in. You pick the right portal for whichever service is misbehaving. And you make the change using the appropriate admin role, not the biggest one you happen to have. Role assignments live under roles in the admin center. Get into the habit of reviewing them regularly so privilege doesn't quietly creep upward. Let's recap. A tenant is one organization's dedicated, isolated instance of Microsoft 365. You manage it through the Admin Center hub and its specialist portals. Entra ID handles identity, licenses unlock services per user, and you make changes using least privilege admin roles. Your task: sign into an admin center, ideally a free developer tenant, and write down your default on Microsoft domain and tenant ID, list the specialist portals you can reach, and decide which role you'd give a Tier 1 colleague who only needs to reset passwords. See you in the next lesson, where we go deep on identity.